Hey guys, it's me again, Jolly Bisaya Reader. Welcome back to another video, and for today I'm going to recommend you books under the category adult and under the genre fantasy. If you haven't read them, I highly suggest you need to read these books as soon as possible, especially if fantasy is your favorite genre. I am really confident that the books I'm going to present to you in this video will be the books that will be part of your all-time favorite list if you're going to read them. Without further ado, these are the books you need to check under adult fantasy genre. Kings of the Wild, this is the first book of the band series. Kings of the Wild is a debut novel of Nicholas Ames. Second book is Bloody Rose. I haven't heard the third book yet. I don't know if it's out or not. I haven't read the second book yet. This is the only book I've read from the series. I read this earlier this year. I was really impressed knowing that this is a debut novel by the author. As a debut novel, and what the author did to the story, to the characters, to the world was phenomenal for me, was very impressive. In this story, we are following a group of characters. We call them the Band. They were used to be, when they were young, a very powerful group of people or bounty hunters in the kingdom. And now, in the present timeline, they already retired or disbanded, and they were really old. And then one circumstance happened, and they were forced to band again and to collect, the group and to form again the band for one last big mission because it's really important. And it was really funny because they are already old and they were not that young and powerful, but their character and how these characters were molded by time and how it evolved into something more mature was really that impressive. So they were still powerful but not as powerful as they were before. That what makes the story really very funny. And if you're looking for a fantasy book with a lot of humor and then great set of characters, and with if you like to read fantasy with a adventure element to it, I highly suggest you to check this one. The writing style was phenomenal. The world building was above average, and what really stood out for me in this one are the characters. The characters were superb. They were really well built. You're just going to catch yourself addicted to the atmosphere that the world will bring you once you read this book. And yeah, after the quarantine, I can't wait to get my hands on the second book, which is The Bloody Rose, and read it as soon as possible. I need to. The next book I highly recommend you guys to read or check is probably, if you are a fantasy reader and you kinda not that ready yet to read under the category adult, but you're a big fan of fantasy, if you want something that is lighter or most of the time do have this young adult feels, I highly suggest you need to check V. Schwab's A Darker Shade of Magic. It's already complete. You can binge read the series whenever you want. In this story, we are following our main character as he is a traveler. His name is Cal. In this world, there's different dimensions or different versions of London. We have the Red London, White London, Black London, and Grey London, in which each of these Londons are completely different from the other Londons. And Cal, as a traveler, we call them the traveler or the magical traveler, are the only individuals who can travel from one London to the other Londons. They basically are more powerful and are used as messengers by the kings or the heads of these worlds or Londons to relay messages or to communicate to other London. It feels more like a young adult, and then not that complicated world, not that complicated magic system, and just really has a small set of characters. I highly suggest this adult fantasy Darker Shade of Magic series is the right books or the right series for you. The next series I'm going to recommend to you guys is probably, for me personally, is the fantasy series that has the best magic system so far of all the fantasy books or adult fantasy books I've read in my entire life. And this is going to be Brentwick's The Lightbringer series. First book is The Black Prism and the second book is The Blinding Knife. I haven't read books 3, 4, and 5 yet. I've heard there's only 5 books in the series. I did really enjoyed the first book. I was not a big fan of the second one. I did not enjoy it as much as I did on the first book. In this world, we are following our main character. He's a prism. Basically, a prism is the only individual in centuries who can control or can convert light into physical objects. And we talk about these lights or colors. These are the colors in the prism, there are 7 colors in the prism. That's why they call it. But that's why the people in this world call him the prism, because he is able to convert all of the colors of the prism into physical objects. There's these individuals in these books who do have that power, but not like the prism who can control or has the ability to convert 7 colors into physical objects. Some are only monochrome, who can only convert 1 color or 1 light into a physical object. Some, which is rare, are bichrome, which is can convert 2 colors, and we have polychrome who can convert 3 or 4, but it's only 1 prism per center or per era, and that is the Lord Prism. He's basically is the Lord and the most holy, or the holiest man in the world set by the author, because the more colors you convert, the more powerful you are, the closer you are to God. So basically he's this religious figure in this world. If you're looking for a adult fantasy with a military aspect to it, there's a lot of military aspect to this one, where there's an empire trying to conquer another empire. Also, the political aspect on this series is very dominant. Yeah, again, I'm going to emphasize the magic system was really cool. So if you're looking for a magic system, a fantasy book with a great magic system, I need you to check this series. Talking about magic system, I think we cannot really deny that also the series I'm going to present next is also one of the adult fantasy series that does have a great magic system, and this is going to be Mistborn, the first era trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. First book is going to be The Final Empire, but they renamed it into Mistborn. Second one is The Wall of Ascension, and the third one is The Heroes of Ages. I am a big fan of Brandon Sanderson. After reading the series, I do think that this series is very iconic, and Brandon Sanderson was just genius. I was really into this book because of the hype, and I just needed to check what this hype is all about in Bookstagram and also on BookTube, so that I dived right into the series and with a lot of expectations, and I was really surprised. All or most of my expectations were met, and those expectations were kind of really high, but I was not disappointed after reading the series. Going back to the magic system in this book is that if you're going to have these powers depends on the metal that you consume. So if you're going to consume copper, you're going to have this kind of power. If you're going to consume aluminum or atium, you're going to have this specific type of power. And just like also the Lightbringer series, there's different factions of individuals who do have these abilities. We have the Mistings who do have the Mistings only have the ability to convert one metal or one type of metal, while there's these sets of characters which we call Mistborn, where all kinds of metals they can convert and they can use it and harness power from it. And this is also very political, guys, and there's also a lot of military aspect to it. It is really cool because what I see that this one is better compared to Lightbringer series, or the set of characters. The set of characters in this book is way better than the Lightbringer series. And also how Brandon Sanderson directed the story was really genius. It was really well directed. It was not a perfect series. There were some lapses, there were some mistakes for me personally, but when it comes to entertainment and enjoyment and how well the story will stick with you after reading the entire series, I highly suggest you to check this one. The story here is, by the way, when evil was, conquered the world. So at the start of the story, the first book, we have this group of characters who's going to plan a heist against the Lord Ruler. Basically, the Lord Ruler is dominating the entire world. He's really powerful. He's controlling the capital, the economy, and there's a lot of slaves. And people are not really happy, and some of the people and our main characters are trying to overthrow the Lord Ruler, kill him, and take him out of the throne and correct his mistakes and make the kingdom or the empire better. Next book I'm going to recommend to you guys is an all-time favorite of mine. It does not stand out in terms of magic system, in terms of story, in terms of plot, in terms of world building. It was it was above the average when it comes to world building, but I do see that the main reason that these series will stand out if we're going to compare this to the other series I presented to you is that this one has the great set of characters. Like, all the characters here are really memorable, well made, and will definitely stick with you. I even named my cat, which we rescued last year, as Nana. Nana is the main character in the series. So here in this story, we are following our group of characters. They are actually nuns, and they are nuns, but they were trained as assassins. They were trained as how to poison people, how to use swords, how to assassinate kings or elites. Basically, imagine nuns who are assassins. How cool is that? This is the second book, Grey Sister. Holy Sister was Holy Mackerel, the best ending ever. The first is Red Sister, by the way. I don't have a copy here because my friend in the office borrowed it, and then quarantine happened, so I'm going to, and hopefully he was able to finish reading it, and he's going to return the copy to me before or after the quarantine. And we're down to the last series in this video, and this is going to be for me the best series, the best adult fantasy series I've read in my entire life, and this is going to be the Propeller Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, or N.K. Queen Jemisin. N.K. Jemisin is a queen. The first book is the 5th season. This won the Hugo and Nebula Award 2016. This one won the Hugo Award in 2017, so it's a back-to-back victory for Queen M.K. Jemisin. But again, back-to-back 2 straight years is not enough. The third book in the series, which is The Stone Sky, won again the Hugo Award, and it made N.K. Jemisin the first ever human in Earth to win or to have won Hugo Award in 3 consecutive years, all in books in the same series, books 1, 2, and 3. And if you're not that convinced, based on the Hugo Awards that these series won, I'm going to tell you why you need to read this as soon as possible. This is a mix of science fiction and fantasy. It is more of like science fiction at first, but if you're going to dive deeper into it, continue reading the story, chapter after chapter, you're going to realize it's not science fiction. It's not just like science fiction, but it's more of a fantasy. Why you need to read this? Because first of all, N.K. Jemisin is a genius writer, and I personally think that she is more genius, or she's smarter than Brandon Sanderson. The way he directed and arranged the plot, or how he made the world in the first book, was phenomenal. It was just something that we haven't read before, something that was not done before, and it was something new. It was really original. It was really iconic. In this story, we have this group of people who are being killed because they are doomed, or they are tagged as very destructive, or they can end the earth anytime by now. Basically, this is a post-apocalyptic story where humans are trying to survive the season. Every season is different, and every season kills a lot of humans who were already able to survive the first season. And basically, the first book talks about the 5th season. So the first season, crops died, world ended, economy died. Second season, there's a toxic gas who's killing anyone who was not, you know what I mean. In the 5th season, it's actually basically a lot of volcanic eruptions, and there's a lot of earthquakes, and it's really destructive. And it's a post-apocalyptic where our modern world was deemed as something that is ancient already, and they gone back to these days where they just have to live simply in huts. And we have this group of characters or individuals we call orogenes, or orogenes, spelled Orogenes, where they can sense, that's the term, sense. They can feel what's really happening below, so they can really control the earthquake, they can stop earthquake, they can make earthquake, they can really control the earth and how the earth moves. The more powerful you are as an Orogenes, the more destructive you are if you don't know how to control it. Basically, we have this so-called fulcrum where guardians, which are these really weird creatures, try to hand untrained Orogens to make sure that they are being trained and they know how to control their power. So they hunt origins all over the continent and send them to the fulcrum, which is the capital, in which here in the fulcrum they teach the untrained origins to control their power and to make good use of these powers. In the fulcrum, your power, or the more advanced or more trained you are, the higher your number is when it comes to ring. So you are tagged as one ringer, two ringer, three ringer, and the higher the ring, the better. And one of the main characters here is Alabaster. It's basically tagged as the most powerful origins. He's a 10 ringer, and nobody's gone closer to him. I think the next more powerful origin ringer is around 5 or 6. Nobody have heard of a 7, 8, 9, and 10. Not like Alabaster. It's only Alabaster. Aside from Alabaster, we're also following another set of characters. We have a mom who's looking for her daughter because her husband took away her daughter after, discovering that their daughter is actually an origin. You need to check and read this. The story was just very mind-blowing. Something that I did not really expect. Something that I did not really see coming. And the plot twist was phenomenal, and the character development all throughout the series was on point and was really impressive. So yeah, there you have it, guys. Those are the books under adult fantasy category in general that I highly suggest you need to check and you need to read as soon as possible if you haven't read them. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you like this video, please click the like button, subscribe, and if you've read some of these videos, if you've read some of these books and you have some comments or questions, just don't hesitate to leave comments down below. Stay safe. My name again is Joel, the Bisaya reader, and bye bye.